Welcome to this session. In this session, I'm going to answer one of the Java interview questions. That is, write a Java program to demonstrate constructor overloading. Let me answer this question with practical demonstration. First of all, what is constructor overloading? If you are creating constructors inside the same class, definitely they are going to have the same name, which is nothing but the class name, because constructors in Java will have the will and must or should have the same name as the class name. Okay, constructors in Java classes should have the same name of their class name. We cannot give any other name. Okay, so when you create constructors inside the class, they should have the name which is matching with the class. And when you are creating multiple constructors inside the same class, having these duplicate names which are equal to the class names, is that possible? The answer is yes. How it is possible? With the help of constructor overloading. Okay. In constructor overloading, we can create multiple constructors having the same name as the class name inside the same class by differing them in the parameters. That is the number of parameters and the type of parameters. If they are different, then Java will allow you to create constructor overloading. So let me practically demonstrate this stuff for you by giving you some real-time feeling of how this can be done in real-time programming and the purpose of creating constructor overloading with an example I'll create. Okay, I'll explain. For that, I'll switch to Eclipse IDE, and here I'm going to create a new class. I'll just name this class as say hi class. Okay, what is the name of this class? Say hi. That's it. Okay, click on finish. Inside this class, if I have to create a constructor, inside this class, if I have to create a constructor, okay, how can we create a constructor? I'll create one of the constructor, public access modifier I give. The constructors will not have any return type, including void will not be there. And the name of the constructor should match with the name of the class. Like this, I'll create public name of the constructor is matching with the name of the class. That's compulsory, and constructors will not have any return type. So here zero parameters are there. Here I'll simply write down system.out.println. Hi there. Hi there, I'll say. Hi there. That's it. Okay. Now I want to create another constructor inside the same class, and the constructor should have the same name as the class name. So I'm creating one more constructor here. Say hi. Okay, another constructor I am creating. The moment I create the similar constructor here, the Java will not allow you to create a duplicate constructor here because this constructor has the same name. You see, here the constructor has the same name. Duplicate method say hi in type say hi is there. It's asking us to remove that. But there is a way in Java, that is by using constructor overloading. Even though we cannot exactly replicate the constructors, even though they have the same name as a class name, and zero parameters are there here, zero parameters are there. As per the constructor overloading concept, if you add one parameter here, then it is possible to create duplicate constructors here. Okay, overloaded constructors here, because they differ in, they may have the same name as a class name, but the number of parameters, if it is different, then Java will allow you to create duplicates. Okay, only when the same name constructors, if you want to create multiple constructors, if you want to create inside the same class, then it should have a parameter string name, I'll say. Okay, for the second one, I'll say string name system.out.println. Hi. Instead of hi there, I'll say hi plus name. Okay, whatever the name, right, is passed to this parameter of this constructor, that name will be printed. Instead of hi there, it will print hi name. Now I'll create one more constructor which has the same name as a class name, because the constructors should and must have the same name as a class names. And here, if I say string name, again there is a problem. Here zero parameters are there, at least one parameter, so this is not a problem for them. But here again the same name is there, same parameter is there. So what I'll do is I'll increase the number of parameters. I'll increase the number of parameters. Here I'll write down, okay, string welcome, welcome message. Okay. Okay. So whatever the welcome message I would like to print, okay, I'll simply write down here, hi, hi, whatever the name, two parameters are there, so overloading is possible. Okay, plus dot hi name. Okay, and here I'll put that welcome message. Okay, whatever the welcome message is there, right? I'll put it here. Okay, well, plus welcome message, I am going to print it out. Okay, along with the hi name, I'm also welcoming the user or something. And also, I can give something like this public. What is the other way of creating the constructors here and avoid the compiler error? I'll copy the same thing here. Public say hi, string name is there, right? Here, int ID I'll give. Instead of the name, I'll give the ID, okay, in the integer format. You see, this is also overloading only. This say hi is with the name, hi, ID. Right, okay, with the help of ID, I'm just saying hi, okay? But here, this is constructor overloading. Why? Because even though they have the same name, okay, they have different types of parameters. The only one parameter is there, here also one parameter, but the type of the parameter is string here. The type of the parameter is int here, okay? That's how constructor overloading is possible. You can create multiple constructors having the same name, and it must be the same name as a class name inside the same class. When they differ in the number of parameters, either the number of parameters should be different or the type of parameter should be different. Here, for example, here 0 parameters, here 1 parameter, here 2 parameters. So number of parameters should be different, or the type of parameters. Here only one parameter, but the type of this parameter is string, the type of this parameter is int. Because of that, it is possible. Now I'll create one class. I'll simply name this class, another class as demo hi. So what is the advantage of creating this overloaded constructors which have the same name but either different number of parameters or different type of parameters, because of which the Java is allowing you to create multiple constructors having the same name despite of having, okay, same name, it's being created instead of considering them as duplicate. Why? Because constructor overloading, number of parameters, type of parameters, if they are different, that's okay. Okay, Java will not consider them as duplicate constructors. Okay, here this concept is called as constructor overloading. And what is the purpose of the constructor overloading? When I want to create an object for this class, either you can create an object, okay, either you can create an object by calling this constructor, or when you're creating an object for this class, if you don't want to call this constructor, you can call this constructor or this constructor or this constructor. Multiple ways of creating the objects are possible now. That is the ultimate purpose of the constructor overloading is, okay? The ultimate purpose of the constructor overloading is to create the objects for this class in different ways, okay? For example, I'll say hi, hi1 is equal to sh1, say hi1 is equal to say hi. Like this, I can create a constructor. I mean, create an object like new, say hi. You see, in this case, which constructor will be called? In this object creation statement, which constructor will be called? The constructor that doesn't have any parameters will be called. That means hi there will be printed. Run this code, right click run as Java application, run this code. Hi there will be printed in the output case. You see, hi there got printed in the output. Okay. Now I don't want this constructor to be called. Another way of creating the object. Okay. I want to create an object in another way. When I create an object, another type of constructor should be called sh2 is equal to new say hi of, instead of empty constructor, I'll pass the name. Let's say Arun is the name. Okay, I'll pass. So in this, out of this four overloaded constructor, which constructor will be called here? Empty constructor will not be called. Empty parameterized constructor will not be called. Instead, here this data argument is of which type in the constructor calling statement, string type. So this constructor will be called. Arun will go here and hi Arun will be printed. Okay, run this code and observe that. Right click run as Java application and say Arun will be printed here, guys. Okay, hi Arun will be printed here. Okay, earlier hi there was printed. Now hi Arun is getting printed because this constructor is being called while you are creating an object. You have the flexibility of creating the objects in your own way, guys. Okay, there are multiple ways of creating objects here. In this object, this constructor is being called, and when you're creating this kind of objects, this constructor is being called. Another way of sh3, I'll say sh3 is equal to new say hi of, I'll write down say hi of, I'll give the ID number this time. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4 is the ID. Okay. Of this user, let's say. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4 or 1, 4, 3, 2. like some unique ID I'm giving. So when I create an object for this class with the help of this constructor, you see this another way. Multiple ways of creating the objects are possible. This time, this constructor will be called when you are creating an object for this class. This constructor will be called instead of other constructors, and because integer value are passing, not string value. So this constructor will be called, and hi 1432 will be printed here. Okay, hi ID number. So some raw agent numbers will be there. In that case, you can use this constructor. Okay, okay, right? Then you don't want to call them with the name, you want to call with the help of their IDs, so you can do that. Then say hi sh4 is equal to new say hi. Okay, say hi sh4 is equal to new say hi. And here the last one, another way of creating the constructor is that I would like to pass my name Arun and also the welcome message. Okay, welcome to this Java program. Hi Arun, welcome to this Java program. Whatever the message you pass from here, okay, that will go into this particular constructor, guys. You see, because there are two arguments here. Into the first one, name will go, and into that second one, welcome message will go. Here, welcome message is something like welcome to Java. This Java program is a welcome message. Run this code and see that this time it will say, hi Arun, welcome to this Java program will be printed. Okay. So if I uncomment all this stuff together, if I run them, you see, every time I'm creating an object, okay, I showed you in real time what is the benefit of this constructor overloading, and create objects in different ways where different type of constructors can be called instead of one type, and different constructors will do different stuff. Okay. So run this code. You see, just run this code and observe that hi there got printed by first object creation. Second object statement is calling the constructor having the name hi Arun. And third object creation statement is calling the constructor having the idea hi 1432. Hi Arun, welcome to this Java program is printed by the last. Okay. So this is the thing, guys. This is the thing. Okay. So hope guys you understood. You can take a screenshot of this if you want. Okay. If you want to take the screenshot of this program, you can take the screenshot, guys. So I think this is enough. You can see both the screens, and you can take a screenshot for a while if you want to practice this constructor overloading where multiple constructors having the same name as a class name can be created with the different number of parameters or different type of the parameters. And this is called as constructor holding. Now you can take a screenshot. Hope you have taken the screenshot, guys. So with practical demonstration, I've answered this question for you. What is demonstrating constructor overloading with Java program? So that's all for this session. Thank you. Bye-bye. Hello all, welcome to this session. In this session, I'm going to answer one of the Java interview questions. That is, write a Java program to demonstrate exception handling. Let me answer this question with practical demonstration. Before we move on to the practical demonstration, we need to have some understanding about this exception handling mechanism that I'm going to demonstrate as an answer for this question. Okay, so what is an exception? We need to know first. What is an exception? It is nothing but a runtime. Exception is nothing but a runtime error, guys. Okay, so during the compile time of the program, before you run the program, during the compile time also, you will not get any compiler errors in the code. But when you run the code, while the code is getting executed during the runtime or during the execution time, if you are getting any error in the output, such kind of errors are called as exceptions in Java. Okay. So what is the problem with the exception is the next thing that you have to understand. Okay. In order to understand the Java program that I'm going to write to demonstrate this exception handling mechanism, first term that you have to understand is what is an exception. It's a runtime error which occurs, an error which occurs during the runtime, that is in the output while the program is running, whatever the errors that are getting, that is an exception. You understood. But what is the problem with the exception? What is the problem with this exception? Is something you have to understand next to understand what is exception handling and why we have to perform exception handling. Okay, what is the problem with exception? The problem with the exception is whenever a particular exception comes during the runtime in the output at a particular line of code in the Java program, the program will stop there itself. In whatever the line the exception has occurred, there itself the program execution will stop. remaining lines of code in the program. Okay, remaining lines of code in the Java program after the exception occurs won't be executed. Won't be executed. The program execution will stop in middle. Okay, will stop wherever the exception comes, right, in the program. There the program will stop, will halt, or it will not continue. Okay, because of that error, right, that is a runtime error or exception, right, the program will stop abruptly. Okay, and the remaining lines of code, okay, after that line that has caused the exception won't be executed. It will not be executed is the problem. So this is the root cause, or this is the problem. So how to solve this problem? In order to solve this problem, we have to handle the exceptions. We have to handle the exception. In the Java program, we have to handle the exception, and this concept is called as exception handling mechanism. How this exception handling mechanism will solve the problem by handling the exception. Okay, so in order to handle the exception in Java programs, okay, as part of exception handling mechanism, we have to use something known as try catch blocks. Okay, only one way in Java we have, okay, that we can use in Java to handle an exception or to implement this exception handling mechanism in the Java program. To solve this program where the program is stopping abruptly, where the line in the line where the exception has occurred, remaining line is not getting, remaining lines of code are not getting executed. To solve this program, no matter you get an exception, if you still want to continue the execution of the code, in that case, we have to handle the exception by implementing this exception handling mechanism with the help of only one technique, that is by using try catch blocks in Java. That is only possible to handle the exceptions. So I am going to demonstrate a program, okay, Java program, okay, which will demonstrate how to handle the exception by implementing this exception handling mechanism. Very simple example I will take. And these are the concepts you have to have the idea, guys, before answering this question. I'm not saying that you have to explain what is an exception. You have to explain what is the problem with the exceptions. You have to explain what is exception handling. You don't have to explain all this stuff. You have to write a program. But if you want to write a program with a proper understanding in your mind, you'll be able to answer the question in the interviews in a better way. That's the reason I covered all this stuff, guys. Now let's go on to the straightforward answer that you have to give in the interviews. And if required, while writing the program, you can explain according naturally whenever the opportunity occurs. Okay. So here I'm going to create a new class. I'll simply name this class. You can give any name for this class. I'll just give the name as exception handling demo. I'll say, okay, some demo name with main method I'm creating. And once the class with the name, this particular random name got created and with the main method gets created, right? Okay, I'll just increase the font here, Control++ in Eclipse ID. Here, I'm going to write some code, guys, okay? So I'll write a code which will result in an exception, okay? But in the compile time, while writing the code, before running the code, you'll not see anything. So what I want to do is, I would like to say int a is equal to some 10. Int a is equal to 10, guys, okay? I created one variable and I initialized that particular variable with the value 10. After that, I would like to say scanner is equal to new scanner I'll write, okay? Scanner is equal to new scanner I'll write. And why I'm writing scanner, I would like to collect some input from the user. That's the reason I'm writing the scanner. You will understand the program later, okay? So, or if you want me to explain in a simplest way, I'll not go to the scanner class. Here I'll write int a is equal to 10, comma, or here you can write int b is equal to 0. Okay, then int c is equal to a divided by b. System.out.println c. System.out.println c. And here I'll write down system.out.println end of this program. End of this program. Okay. So what will happen if I run this code? Okay, this is very simple program, guys. Okay. So are you getting any compiler error? You see, Eclipse IDE is very smart editor that whenever you write the code inside the Eclipse IDE in a Java file, automatically it will compile the code. You don't have to compile manually from the command line. When you write the code in this editors like Eclipse IDE in the Java files and all those stuff, the code that is being written is automatically getting compiled. Even though you say single character also, that is automatically compiled in Eclipse IDE editor. You see the code has been compiled, and do you see any errors? If I remove this semicolon, you see immediately Java compiler will give you error. How? Because of the compilation is happening automatically. Again, if I put the semicolon back, again compiling is happening and there are no compiler errors. That doesn't mean that this code is error free. Okay, we cannot say that this code is error free. Why? Because compiler errors are not there. Syntax errors or some rules and regulations of Java violation are not there in this code. But when I run the code, you just see the output, guys. You will get an error in the output. During the runtime, we'll get an error. You see already in red color, we got an error. Exception in thread main, arithmetic exception. What is the reason behind that? You are trying to divide a number by zero. In mathematics also, if you try to divide a number by zero, they'll call it as infinite loop. And in Java, it is not possible to store an infinite value into a variable. Okay, that's the reason you are getting divide by zero. Okay, for that reason, you are getting arithmetic exception. Exception is nothing but a runtime error at the line 9. Okay, at the line 9, you got the exception, and because of which the code that is followed by this particular, okay, the code that is followed by this line which is giving an exception has not been executed. You see, once the error has come in the 9th line, 10th line, 11th line, nothing got executed. No matter how many lines are there, they will not get executed. If I write this 5 times or 10 times also, you will not see any output here. End of this program will not be printed. Okay, because of the exception here, you see, exception is coming means the program will stop abruptly in the line where the exception has come. You see, in this particular line where you are trying to divide a, which is 10, by the value 0, any number if you try to divide by 0 in Java will give you a runtime error in the output. That is nothing but an exception, a runtime error. In this case, it is mathematical related error that is coming in the output. That is why arithmetic exception. Okay, in mathematics, we have an arithmetic topic, right? You are trying to divide a number by 0. That's the reason you got the exception. So how to handle this exception? How to handle this exception? Whatever the code that is giving you an exception, what happens when the code runs is A will be assigned with 10, B will be assigned with 0, and C, A divided by B. This line is giving an exception. Exception means nothing but an object of a predefined class in Java, guys. What is a predefined class for which this statement is throwing an object of that? Arithmetic exception is a predefined class. For this arithmetic exception class, okay, an object will be created and that object will be thrown to the JVM which is running this code. Once the JVM receives the object of this arithmetic exception class, JVM will immediately stop the execution of the code wherever the line, the exception or the object of that particular exception is thrown from the code. Remaining lines will not be executed. That's the reason. To overcome this problem, we have to divert this particular object which is thrown for that arithmetic exception to the JVM. It should not direct that object that is created at this line 9 to the arithmetic, JVM. Okay, object of the arithmetic exception, we don't have to divert that to the, we don't have to send it to the JVM. Rather, we have to divert it to another location. For that, only way in Java is to use try catch blocks. Okay, right? Try whatever the statements that are related to the exception. You see, what is the use if this operation is not possible? If you are trying to divide a number by 0, you will not get the result, right? You are getting an error here. Okay, what is the use of printing? That's why I'm writing these 2 lines inside the try block. And in the catch block, what is the object of this particular class that is being thrown here when you're trying to divide a number by 0? Arithmetic exception is a class. That class name you provide in the catch block here. Arithmetic exception E. You can give any variable name here. That's okay. I'm just giving E. It's an object reference. Hover the mouse on the arithmetic exception and import it. Okay, there is a mistake here. Arithmetic exception. Some spelling mistake. Now I correct. You don't have to import it actually. It's from java.lang package, which is a default package in Java. You don't have to import. Other exceptions you have to import. But arithmetic exception, which is from the default package in Java, no need to be imported. That's fine. Here I'll simply write down system.out.println. Okay. Exception got handled. I'm printing a statement. Exception got handled. And to give the details of the exception, I'll simply say plus E. That's it. This object reference, I'll print it out. Now tell Now let me tell you what is happening in the program and how using the try-catch blocks. I told you, right? Using try-catch blocks, you can handle the exception or implement this exception handling mechanism, because of which this problem will be solved where the program will not stop there in the line where the exception has occurred. Rather, the remaining lines of code will continue the execution. Okay. So here A is assigned with 10, B is assigned with 0. Int C is equal to A divided by B. That is 10 divided by 0. This will throw an object of arithmetic exception class. This time that object will not be thrown to the JVM, and from the try block will divert that object to the catch block. And in the catch block, if a respective object reference declared with that particular class which can capture that particular object of that exception is there, means arithmetic, this is the object of the arithmetic exception, right? That can be assigned to the object reference of the or variable of the arithmetic exception class. So proper class is there. It will capture it here and will go inside the catch block where exception handling will happen. And instead of the JVM stopping the program, here catch block will take the advantage of this particular object thrown by this statement and simply print exception got handled with the exception details. But the program will not stop here, and remaining lines of the code, end of this program, end of this program, end of this program, end of this program, end of all the kind of code which is coming after this exception has occurred in this line will continue the execution. You will just see this time, you see, the program will not stop abruptly this time. You see, exception, the catch block exception got handled. This arithmetic exception divided by 0 got printed. You see, the exception handling has been done and remaining all statements got executed. The program has continued with the execution. That end of this program got printed. But tell me guys, why a particular person has to, while writing the code, they already know that the value of A is 10 and they know that the value of B is 0. And they already know that you cannot divide a number with 0 in Java. Who will intentionally give the value 0 here? Okay, this kind of programs are nonsense programs, guys. Okay, even though I can show this program as an example, if the interviewer asks me to write a Java program to demonstrate exception handling, I can show this program. But there's some problem in this program that who will intentionally try to divide a number by 10 by 0? We already know that, it will give an exception. So what I will do is I'll make this program realistic, where exactly in real time, why we need to handle these exceptions, why people, developers of this program will not intentionally give this value 0, guys. Okay. So what I will do here is I will collect the input from the user then. Okay. The Java program also doesn't know that there's a possibility of value 0 that can be assigned to the variable B and that can result in arithmetic exception. It doesn't know that. Okay. So new scanner like this, it is what is real time, guys. No one will intentionally try to divide a number by 0. Definitely will get arithmetic exception. But in what cases we have to use this try-catch block? Whenever you come across a program where, you try to collect the input from the user. Okay. And, here instead of 0 directly assigning 0, scanner dot next int, I'll say next int, scanner dot next int. And I'll collect the input from the user, integer input from the user using the scanner object dot next int. This will collect the input from the user during the runtime. And here I'll help the user in entering the number. Enter any number. Okay, enter any number, I'll say. Now at the end of the program, you can close the scanner object, scanner dot close. Anyhow, we have implemented the try catch block, no matter if you are trying to divide a number by 0, also the program execution will continue. And when you run the code, guys, you see, it will ask the user to enter any number. If the user enters a proper number, let's say 1, if you try to divide 10, you see the value 1 will go into B and A will contain 1. A divided by B, 10 divided by 1. How many times you can divide 10 by 1? 10 times. So the value of C, 10 will be printed here. When you say 1, the value of C, 10 will be printed. No exception will come and the end of this program will be printed. You see 1, 10, 9, end of this program. This is a positive case of the program. What if I give any other number? I can give multi other numbers, guys. What if I give 2 means 2 can divide this 10 5 times, 5 number of times. So 5 and end of this program. This is also positive case. What if I give, let's say 3 times, 3 can divide 10 3 times only, remainder 1 will come anyhow. So if you try to divide this number by 5, let's say 2 times, 2 is coming as output end of this program. But what if in case the user enters to divide this number by 0, if in case the user enters 0 as an input here, this 0 will go into the variable B and the number 10 will be divided by 0 and that will result in, this is a random case, you have to think so. Everyone will think that user will give a proper positive number only. We are asking a number, so user will not give 0, we may think. But what if the user gives 0? Then we have to handle the exception. Not always the user will enter 0. There may be some situations where user may wrongly enter 0 here and 10 divided by 0 may happen, and because of which there is a possibility of an exception in this particular line. That's why we have to handle this exception. It's not really required if the user enters a proper number here, okay? If the user unexpectedly or intentionally gives the number 0 in the output, there's a possibility that in this particular line, you are trying to divide a number by 0, and because of it, this line may throw an arithmetic object of the arithmetic exception, and JVM will stop the execution of the code, okay? So that's the reason we have to handle in advance this kind of statements where there is a possibility of a arithmetic exception if in case the user enters 0 in the output. If the user enters 0, you see, exception got handled. Java, despite of the exception, the program execution has been continued, okay? So no one will try to forcibly write the Java program by giving 10 divided by 0, guys. That is not going to happen. It may happen this kind of real-time case, guys, okay? Where you're trying to collect some input from the user and user is entering something. Java developer is not intentionally trying to break the program. Rather, the user input is being given where instead of proper number, 0 is being given by the user input, and that results in an arithmetic exception. One of the possibility of the code where this line will result in an arithmetic exception, object of the arithmetic exception to be thrown in the output during the runtime and all. To overcome that, we'll handle the exception and catch block will handle the exception and program execution will continue. So hope guys, you got the idea what exactly is an exception, what is, what is the problem with an exception, why we have to handle the exceptions using exception handling mechanism, and the only way to handle is using try-catch blocks. Okay, in real time, how the exception may come. Okay, this kind of scenario where the exception is only one example. There may be multiple examples where the exceptions may happen in real time, but this is a very simple and sweetest example. Okay, you can give as an answer in the interviews. Okay. So with this scanner class and all, if you write the program, the interviewer will get completely impressed. Okay. So guys, if you want to practice this code, you can take a screenshot of this code and just halting for a while. Hope you have taken the screenshot of this code. So with practical demonstration, I have written a Java program to demonstrate you what exactly is exception handling. Okay. And all its concepts I covered in this along with the answer too. So that you have a good learning from this session. Okay. So that's all for this session. Thank you. Bye-bye. Hello all. Welcome to this session. In this session, I'm going to answer one of the Java interview questions. That is, write a Java program to demonstrate throwing an exception. Let me answer this question with practical demonstration. In Java programs, in order to throw an exception, we have to use a keyword known as throw keyword. Okay, we have a keyword in Java programs that we have to use for throwing an exception by using a keyword known as throw keyword. So we can take a situation in Java programs based on some condition is satisfied. If you want to throw an exception, you can throw it with the help of throw keyword. Okay. So let me demonstrate this so that you'll be able to understand the answer for this question in a better way. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a new class. I'll just name this class. Okay. I'll simply name this class as voting demo, right? You all know that what is voting. Okay. If you want to elect, some government and all. Okay. So some political party, if you want to elect, you should have the voting right. So voting right comes after 18 years, right? So if you have a minimum of 18 years of age, then you are eligible for the voting. Otherwise, you are not eligible for the voting. Okay. So I'll just create a main method inside that class. I'm going to write that code, okay, which throws an exception if someone tries to vote who is having the age below 18 years. Okay, that's what I want to do here. Okay, so I would like to collect the user's age while running the program. Okay, I'll try to collect the input during the runtime. Okay, while the program is running, I would like to collect the age of the user who is trying to vote, okay, for a political party from the output. I assume that, okay. I'll simply write down scanner is equal to new scanner. So scanner is a predefined class in Java using which we can collect inputs from the user. Okay, that's the reason we have created an object for this scanner. Import scanner from java.util package. And this scanner constructor cannot be empty. If you want to intake an input from the user during the runtime, here we have to write system.in. Okay, that means you are allowing the input. System.in means you are intaking the data into your system. Okay, from the user who is an external source for us. Here I'll help the user understanding. After running the program, right, the user will not understand what's going on, and user will not be able to understand that he or she has to enter some age there. Okay, so to help the user during the runtime, I'll write this print statement saying enter your age. Okay, let's say these people are coming to the polling stations, and there are like where you can go and poll, vote for a political party, and there at the entrance, okay, someone is checking like what's your age. Enter your age. Simply write scanner dot next int. Okay, this next int method of the scanner class will intake the age from the user in an integer format. Okay, so it will return you int age is equal to. Okay, now I'll write the code. If age is, okay, if age is greater than or equal to 18, then I'll write down like this: system.out.println. Okay, you are eligible for voting. Okay, you are eligible for voting. That's what will be printed. Else if age is neither greater than nor equal, if it is less than, in that case only it will go to the else block. There I'll say throw new exception based on this condition. If the user's age is, it's not minimum 18 years, in that case I have to throw an exception. I would like to manually throw an exception based on this Java logic. Okay, so here I can write exception class, and inside the exception class I'll put this constructor. You are creating an object for the exception class, and once this object is thrown to the JVM, right, JVM will stop the program there itself. Okay, here I'll write down, okay, uh, not eligible for voting as per your age. Okay, as per your age. Okay, or minimum, or you can write here minimum age for minimum age for voting is 18 years. Okay, like that you can write. Now you see, when I write this statement, I'm getting a suggestion saying unhandled exception type. You see, if in case the user enters an age which is less than 18, you'll go to the else block and an exception will be thrown. Because of the exception, that exception object of this exception class with this message will be thrown to JVM, and JVM will stop the program here in the 16th line. Remaining lines of code like end of this program, etc., won't be executed. Let's assume that for sample case, I'm writing this end of this program. Okay, end of this program. Okay, like this. Okay, so this remaining portion of the code in the program won't be executed, because this throw new exception will throw an object of the exception class with this message for the reason for the exception. That object will be thrown to the JVM. And JVM, the moment it receives this particular object from the exception class, will abruptly stop the program in the line 16 itself. All the lines after 16th line won't be executed. That's the problem with the exception. So no matter what way, whether you are throwing an exception using throw keyword, or you are, automatically due to some problems in the code, you are getting an exception, whatever it may be, we can handle that. We can handle the exception, guys. Okay, we can handle the exception. Hover the mouse on this, you see. Ignore the exception. Okay, it's saying that you can ignore the exception. Okay. So that's okay. So this code will not be executed if an exception occurs, and if the exception doesn't occur, the code will be executed. Remaining portion of the code will be executed. Let's see that this how we can throw an exception manually. Okay, when due to some programming conditions. So run the code, and here it will ask you to enter your age. Let's say if I enter my age as let's say 40 and press enter, you are eligible for voting. End of this program, end of this program, end of this program, end of this program. Okay, if I run this code again, if I run this code and enter something like, some age which is 18, no problem. You are eligible for voting. Okay, 18 age is also eligible for voting. End of the program. The program execution has continued because there is no exception here. We didn't go to the throw else block, and throw exception has not been thrown. What if I give something like 10 years? Press enter. Exception in thread main, okay, will come. exception in thread main java.language.exception. Minimum age for voting is 18 years will be printed. Okay. Is there any way to handle this kind of throw thing? I don't think we can handle such kind of exceptions because Eclipse IDE is not suggesting to put try catch block surrounding this. Let's try this, even though Eclipse IDE is not suggesting us to put a try catch block. Let's still try to, handle this exception. Let's see, will it allow or not? Catch E system.out.println E, I'll say. Okay, whether the exception will, I'll not ignore the exception, rather, I'll handle the exception. Okay, I'll handle the exception. Let's see whether if this works, that's also fine. If an exception comes, it will handle the exception, and the remaining program, if you still want to continue, you can run this. Okay, right here run as Java application. Let's see whether the exception will be handled or not. 10 I'll give. You see, exception got handled using try catch block and the remaining portion of the code got executed. And here clearly mentioned java.lang exception has occurred. Minimum age for voting is 18 years also came. This is a better way instead of ignoring the exception and, surrounding this throw new exception where you are throwing an exception intentionally based on a programming logic. That throw related statement, you can surround with try catch blocks and you can handle the exception also. Okay, I tried all the stuff here. I showed you all the stuff, guys, regarding how to throw a exception. Okay, how to throw an exception. The question here is write a Java program to demonstrate throwing an exception. This is how in real time we can throw an exception, and that exception we can even handle also. Okay, whatever the exception you're trying to throw, you can handle that, and so that the program execution will continue. If you are not worried about the program execution to be continue, you can ignore the exception and remove the try catch block. That's also fine. Okay. But to the interviewer, you can demonstrate this statement is very important, which is a straightforward answer for this question. So hope guys, you got the answer for this question. Now you can take a screenshot of this code if you want to practice this code, right? You can take a screenshot. Hope guys, you have taken the screenshot for this code. So with this note, okay, I have done answering this question for you with practical demonstration. So that's all for this session. Thank you. Bye-bye. Hello all, welcome to this session. In this session, I'm going to answer one of the Java interview questions. That is, write a Java program to demonstrate the creation of an interface. Let me answer this question with practical demonstration. So, interface concept or interface topic in Java will fall under abstraction category. Okay. So in object-oriented concepts, we have different concepts like object, class, inheritance, polymorphism, encapsulation, abstraction. Okay. Under the abstraction category of OOPS concepts, we'll get this. Two items are there under abstraction, guys. So one is, abstract classes we have. They're all about partial implementation or partial abstraction. Okay, something will be implemented, something will not be implemented. That is abstract classes. But interfaces, we generally call these interfaces as full abstraction, full hiding. Okay, complete hiding, no implementation at all. Okay, there we generally use interfaces. So this is what. And now this question is all about interface. Okay, so in interface, how to create an interface? The way you create a class, similarly you can create an interface, guys. And there's a keyword in Java. Okay, in order to create an interface, there is a keyword in Java known as interface keyword. Okay, what is the name of the keyword? Interface keyword, guys. There's a keyword in Java known as interface keyword, using which we can create an interface in Java. And there are many other stuff that I need to cover and explain about the interfaces. Step by step, I am going to do while writing a Java program to demonstrate the creation of interface. Okay, while creating this interface as part of the answer for this question, okay, I'll be covering a lot of, concepts regarding the interface. For that, I'll switch to Eclipse IDE and create a new interface here. Let me close the previous stuff and create a new interface. Right click new. Instead of selecting the class, you select the interface case. Okay. Instead of selecting the class, you select an interface and give some name for the interface. In India, we have an institution known as RBI. It's a financial, regarding institution, okay, related institution, you can say. So whatever the financial decisions, okay, in India to be taken as a country, right? RBI is the one behind that, okay? RBI will take the decisions related to financial stuff related to India. It may be banking sector, it can be any other financial sectors, okay? All the things that are related to finance stuff will come under RBI, okay? Reserve Bank of India, okay? Reserve Bank of India, okay? Which will track the inflation rate that is going in India. What is it will actually work towards the better GDP growth of the country and all those stuff, okay? By taking a lot of necessary actions that what banks have to do, what banks should not do, okay? All the financial stuff and regulations, rules, okay, processes will be created by RBI in India. I just create an interface, okay? As an example, guys, I'll take RBI, okay? And similarly, if you go to US, right, there will be other, similar to RBI, we have something like, Fed is there, okay? Fed kind of stuff is there in United States. Like different countries will have their own financial institutions. So in India, we have RBI. Click on finish. The moment I click on finish, you will get an interface created, and the keyword that is required for creating an interface in Java is an interface keyword. This is how we have to create an interface, guys. This is an access modifier followed by the interface keyword followed by the name of the interface. Okay, followed by the name of the interface. Okay, how to create an interface using the interface keyword, we have to create an interface. And interface, I told you, right, is all about full abstraction. Okay, full abstraction. Okay, under the abstraction object oriented concepts, we have this interface, full abstraction. Full abstraction, that is like, zero implementation kind of stuff will be there. Okay, generally speaking, zero implementation. So inside the interface, you can create some variables and you can create some methods. First, I'll talk about the methods. Whatever the methods by default you create inside the interface cannot have a body because they are by default abstract types. Okay, that means if I write public void deposit money, let's say RBI, okay, let's say there's an interface like RBI, which is, trying to define a bank in India. So what does a bank do, guys? Deposit money. It's try to we can deposit the money in the bank. Okay. If I try to create a body, you see the general methods when I try to create inside the interface, and if I try to provide the body here, immediately I'm going to get an error saying that abstract methods do not specify a body. That means by default, the methods inside the interfaces are by default abstract, and as abstract methods cannot have the body. Just the declaration is enough. You see, you have to put a semicolon. So similarly, what a bank can do in India, RBI is defining all these rules for the banks. Okay, deposit money, transfer money. Okay, then public void, withdraw money. Okay, then public void, deposit money, transfer money, withdraw money. Then any other stuff, open account. Okay, then close account. You can create any number of methods, guys. Okay, closing account, close account. Okay, withdraw money. Like that, many things can be created, but for sample, I'll create only this 5 methods, and they cannot have the body, guys. If you try to provide any method body for these methods, by default, methods in the interfaces are abstract type. Okay, so here by default, the general methods inside an interface are of abstract type. Okay, they're of abstract type. They cannot contain method body or implementation Okay, they cannot contain method body or implementation. So these are like, interfaces. So some methods we have created, and if you try to create a body, immediately Java compiler is giving an error saying that by default, these methods are abstract methods. You do not specify a body, it is saying, okay, you have to remove this method body and put a semicolon. You cannot implement these methods. That's what is the thing. Along with that, inside the interfaces, you can create some variables. The variables inside the interface are by default static and final type. Static type and final type. I'll write the code like this, int. Okay, int. Otherwise, I'll not say int. Otherwise, I will say string account type 1. Okay, put a semicolon, you will get a compiler error saying that, okay, you have to initialize this. The blank field cannot, a field account type 1 may not have been initialized. We have to initialize. Why we have to initialize? Because this is of, final type. Okay, by default, it is final type. You have to give something like, let's say, savings account, savings. Similarly, string account type 2 is equal to, one is savings and other one is current account. Okay, current. It's mandated to initialize, and also they are static and final type. Okay, by default, methods are abstract type. Okay, by default, abstract type by default. Okay, the methods in interface are abstract type by default. They cannot have the method body or implementation, whereas the variables by default in the interface are by default final and static type. If you want to access these variables of this RBI interface, you can access them using the name of the interface, RBI.account type 1, RBI.account type 2. And like this, many variables and many methods you can create inside the interface. But here, the variables inside the interface are by default static and final type. Okay, I'll write that here. Variables inside the interface are by default final and static type. Okay, are by default final and static type, guys. Are by default final and static type. Okay, now if an interface cannot implement the methods, then who will implement these methods? So we can create the child classes for this interface, which are implementing this interface. Okay, whenever you create an interface, you can create a child classes for this interface who are implementing this interface. For example, I'll create some child classes, either part of the same file or you can create a new class maybe. I'll just name this class as for example, instead of giving the name like RBI, right, I'll give the name for the interface as bank. That will be more better, guys. I'll rename this to bank dot interface. Okay, bank.java file in the bank.java file, and it is an interface case. It's an interface actually. Let's say RBI is creating this interface to be followed by the bank. So it's better you give the name as bank, because RBI is a financial institution. It's not just only for the banks. It it has several functions, right? One of the thing is like RBI take care of the banks rules and define the rules and regulations. So this interface RBI has created for the banks to follow. Let's assume that. Now here I'll create a new class. I'll just name this class as some bank. Let's say HDFC Bank. Okay, is the name of the class. I'll create a class. In the class, we not use interface keyword. We'll use the class keyword. So here, that's what is one thing that you have to use. Understand that interface keyword we have to use for creating the interfaces, and they're all about full abstraction. There is zero implementation. So all the methods by default cannot be implemented. They cannot have the method body or implementation, and variables are by default static and final type. Okay. Now I created a HDFC Bank class, and I want to make this HDFC Bank class a child class of this interface. Who will implement all these methods which are not implemented by the interface? The child classes, okay, like this HDFC Bank. And how a class can become a child class of this bank interface. Here we will write implements keyword. Okay, there's a keyword in Java known as class name implements. If you want to make this class a child class of this bank interface, we have used implements keyword and say bank. And here I need to, you see, and I don't have to write a main method here. Remove that for now. Okay. Pour the mouse on this HDFC bank and say add unimplemented methods. There are several unimplemented methods in the bank interface, which is the parent of this HDFC bank. You have to implement to overcome this error it is saying. So here you can write down the code public void, whatever the methods that are not implemented in the bank interface, because bank here implementation is not allowed. So such kind of methods you can implement here, deposit money. Okay. We are overriding the methods from the interface guys. Okay. The child classes are overriding the methods. You see, one method I created the body here that you see again one more error will come. Open account. You create a implementation for a open account, public void open account. Okay. So then over the mouse again you will get one more close account, public void close account, public void close account. Okay, like that you'll keep getting all this stuff. Okay, close account. And then after 3 methods implementation, you are getting withdraw money. You have to implement this withdraw money from the parent interface. Public void, then the error will be gone. It will say withdraw money. Okay, withdraw money. Then what else is there? Then we have other one that is transfer money. Public void transfer money. Public void transfer money. Like this, I'll create deposit money, open account, close account, withdraw money, transfer money. I created. Okay, fine. So after that, the error is gone here. I'll write some implementation code, depositing money in. Every class will have its own implementation, right? For example, HDFC, depositing money into HDFC bank. Like this, I'll write some statement, system.out.println, opening an account in HDFC bank. Okay, then next one, system.out.println, closing account, closing an account, closing an account in HDFC bank. Then what else? System.out.println, withdrawing money in HDFC bank. Okay, then next one, system.out.println, transferring money in HDFC bank. Okay, like that I can create lot of, you see, transferring money from HDFC bank, withdrawing money from HDFC bank, like this proper names I'm giving. Closing account, closing HDFC bank account, HDFC bank account. Okay, opening HDFC bank, opening HDFC bank account, opening HDFC bank account. Okay, like this I've created guys some methods implementation and all. Here types are there in the these variables are there, these methods are there. You cannot implement the methods in the interface. The child classes of this interface can implement. I can create one more class if I want and implement this in a different fashion. For example, apart from HDFC bank, I can write Axis Bank. I can write Axis Bank. Okay, so or any other bank and implements bank interface. Okay, so I'll if I want to, if I can I create an object for an interface? No, you cannot create an object for the interface. So you have to create an object for the child class that is implementing an interface and access all this stuff. So for that reason, I'll create one more class. I'll just name this class as iDemo. Just some random name with main method I'll create. Here I'll drag this interface HDFC bank here, and here I cannot create an object for an interface, guys. In Java, we cannot create an object for an interface. If you try to create an object for the interface, bank is equal to new bank, you will get an error. You will get an error. Cannot instantiate the type bank. Okay, you cannot create an object for the bank. What you can do is you can create an object for the child class which is implementing the interface. Like this, you can create an object for the bank and assign that to the variable of the bank interface if you want. Okay, that's okay. You can assign this object to the variable of the same class or its parent interface. Here I'll say bank is equal to, this is okay. Creating an object for the child class and assigning that to the variable of the parent interface is fine. Now using this object reference, using this, if I want to access this variables, okay, system.out.println, I don't have to use object reference here. I can directly call this variables of the interface with the name of the interface. Bank dot, you see, account type 1 savings will be printed. I don't have to create an object here for this purpose. System.out.println, name of the interface dot account type 2. Okay, we can access like this. And next thing is that using the bank object reference, I can call all these methods. Okay, the you see, bank dot open account, bank dot savings, bank dot uh, uh, you know uh, deposit money. Let's say bank dot where bank dot withdraw money, bank dot transfer money, bank dot close account. Like this, all these methods you can call, guys. Okay. So in interfaces, you can create variables and methods, but methods are abstract by default. The variables are static and final by default. Since they are static, right, I can access them using the interface name. Okay. And since run the code here and you see the things will work fine. Like HDFC Bank, you can create a lot of classes which are implementing the bank interface and create their own implementation for all these methods, okay, and all. There's a lot of things about interfaces, guys, but at a high level, as part of the answer for this question, you see, you can write this code, okay? If someone can write the code like this, that is more than enough, okay? So here, I'll try to do my level best in making the code visible to you. Okay, this is what level I can go. So I have to go more better level actually. Okay. So here I'll write so that you can take the screenshot of this code and try it in your machines. Okay. I think this is better. And what is more better is these comments you can see if possible. And trying that to see whether you can see the comments. Okay. I think this is the best way. This is the best way where you can see the comments. You can see this. Okay. Classes implementing this. You can create any number of classes, guys. HDFC Bank is one of the class which is implementing, like Axis Bank, SBI Bank implementing same interface, multiple classes can implement. That's okay. And here, this is the final stuff. So you can take a screenshot of this code, guys. Okay. So hope, guys, you have taken the screenshot of the code with practical demonstration and answer this question by writing a Java program where I have demonstrated creating an interface for you. So not only I created an interface, explain more about interface, like it falls under the abstraction concept, one of the abstraction oops concepts. And in order to create an interface, we have to use a keyword known as interface keyword, and interface is all about full abstraction or zero implementation. And by default, general methods inside an interface are of abstract type. You cannot provide the method body, okay? And then variables inside the interface, are by default fine aligned static type. They are by default fine aligned static type. So in order to access that variables, you have to manually initialize them because they are final, and you cannot update the values of the variables anywhere since they are final and abstract type. Cannot update the values from savings to any other things. Once you initialize, that is done. This is a final value, and you can access these variables using the name of the interface, like bank.account type 1 or bank.account type 2, just so that you can take the screenshot, have reduced the size of this font. So that's all for this session, guys. With practical demonstration, I've answered this question for you. So that's all for this session. See you in the next session. Thank you. Bye-bye.